What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel as well as on Twitch, so make sure you come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by my music, which is available anywhere you stream music under the name Aftersound. And I do have a new song out recently called Don't Forget About Me, the Supernova version. So check it out. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate the support. Okay, guys, let's talk about the not the Wild Season Permit, but the Spellbooks, because I've been doing this every month. I did get the data on the 5th of April, so I know I'm recording this video a couple of days later, and as you can see here, we've seen a significant drop-off overall. Now, what's interesting, and I'm going to focus mainly on, since we're kind of doing this on a monthly cadence, I'm going to focus mainly on these two, right, the 30-day and the 14-day. So a month ago, or sorry, let's start from the beginning of the year, right? In February, which since I did this on February 5th, that kind of included most of the beginning of the year, right, of January, we were at 115 spellbooks that were purchased, an average of 3.83 per day. That has come down, right, to 74 back in March, and then the beginning of April down to 68. So the drop off from March to April wasn't as high, and as you can see here, right, the 180-day kind of is the same across the board, which is interesting. But that obviously includes the big spike that we had back in November and December. Now, signups, on the other hand, again, going to focus in on the 30-day. So let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. The 30-day and the 14-day. So 2 months ago, right, there was like 3,500, and we essentially dropped to half of that last month, but we've kind of maintained that, right? It was 1904, and here we are at 1843, and then you look at the last 2 weeks, we went from 1493 down to 985 and 801. So again, our conversion rate, interestingly enough, it did come down, right? So if you look at this on like a monthly basis, and I would say that's obviously where the biggest changes are. If you look at our conversion rate, 2 months ago when I started tracking this, right, so at the beginning of February, we were at 3.24%. And that was our tracking for, like, we'll call it the month of January, right? Since I compiled the data at the beginning of February. Then we shot up to 3.89%, which is the highest conversion we've had over any period that I've looked at. And then we dropped down to 3.69% this past month. Now, keep in mind, obviously I took this data a couple of days ago, but today, on Monday, April 7th, the day that I'm recording this, Ethereum dropped to like $1,500, right? Like, the market is in free fall. There's been panic. It's been super tough all across the board. Crypto is just not where, I mean, crypto and risk assets in general are just not, you know, where people thought that they would be in 2025 with a friendly administration and everything. And yet, I know people are going to call this out as cope, and it probably is, but, and yet we are still getting people signing up for this game, right? To me, I find that fascinating. I don't know why, but I find it fascinating. Now, here's the thing. You look at where we were if we go back to November and December, for example, right? Or even like January, which would include mostly December data. And again, I'm just looking at the 30 days here, and you can see we were at 71 spellbooks in November. We were at 93 spellbooks in December and 90 spellbooks in January. Again, those were somewhat inflated with obviously all of the hype coming out of the election and everything that was going on. We're not that far behind that, right? Like, we're talking about an average of like 3.1 per day, and we're down to 2.27 this month, which again, yes, on an aggregate, like, that's almost like 30 people per month that would be joining the game that are not joining the game. And again, like, all this stuff to me is like peanuts. Like, this stuff doesn't really, like, as much as I track it, as much as I like pay attention to it, this will only matter if we start to see significant increases in the amount of people checking out the game. So that'll probably be like signups, right? Because there's no other way to see like how many people are just coming to look at the game, but how many people are signing up. And then of course, Spellbooks is that other level. Now, the reason that I do like signups, and this is where it gets interesting. Okay. This is where, to me at least, it seems somewhat interesting, is that with signups, we are still relatively high, despite the fact that like crypto is not at the level that it was. So like the fact that almost 2,000 people checked out the game over the last 2 months, or over the last month, or if you want to say like almost 4,000 people checked out the game the last 2 months, is still kind of wild to me. Now, obviously, many people have not, bought the spellbook, so the conversion rate is significantly low comparatively. But here's the thing. people don't need to buy the spellbooks right away. Getting people to just sign up and participate and play, to me, is still a win, right? I know many people are going to look at this and say, well, yeah, I mean, you know, if they're coming in but they're not adding value or doing anything, that is not like, I think it's difficult to quantify the type of impact that has, right? Because we are making this free-to-play move and this kind of push into free-to-play, and we're going to start marketing and trying to get people to come in. If they have a good time doing free-to-play, I mean, how many players out there just play games for free, right? Whether it's mobile, whether it's PC or whatever, like they just play free games. That's all it is. So not everybody that comes in is going to be spending a ton of money. We don't need them to spend a ton of money, right? Now, in order for them to earn, they'll have to buy Spellbook, so we can track it there. But what I'm trying to get at here is if people come in and they enjoy the game for what it is, right? So we see these signups either stay consistent or we see, we see them start to increase. And here's the thing, right? Like we're seeing all these signups, but it's not like the amount of players is increasing. Like if we go over to the Peak Monsters dashboard, it's not like we're seeing like, oh, there's 2,000 signups this past season. All of a sudden, like there's 2,000 more accounts playing. We're not really seeing that. So people are still coming in, checking it out. Maybe they'll play a couple of games. Maybe they'll buy a Spellbook, but I don't really know what the retention metrics are, right? Maybe the team can share some of that. But on the whole, until we start to see this really push, it's not gonna matter. But I'm still gonna track it. We're still gonna talk about it. We're still gonna dissect the data. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's difficult to quantify. Like, let's say somebody comes in, they check out the game, they actually really like it, but they're just not somebody that likes to pay, right? They don't pay for games. But maybe they have friends who do, and maybe they start telling their friends, and we get this word of mouth marketing. Now, again, that's a little bit of a dream scenario, but that's like literally every game's dream scenario, right? Word of mouth marketing. So the fact that we have now a competent and growing free-to-play experience for players, to me at least allows that option to be something. Now, taking this back to the data, we're not really seeing that, at least not right now. But as I said earlier, this is a crypto game. It exists and lives and dies by whatever happens in the crypto economy. Ethereum, Bitcoin even, right, to a certain extent, everything is down right now. It's not the best time. So I'm not going to judge this data too harshly. I'm not going to take too much out of it, but it is good that we're tracking. At least I'm happy that I'm tracking it so that we can see if there ends up being a change up or an increase significantly in any of these metrics when things start to turn on. And with Conclave Arcana right around the corner and potentially, some flywheel action, you never know what could happen. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. Just wanted to share the update for this month, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.